I'm gonna get this done. I swear to God, I'm gonna do this review properly, even if it fucking takes me the entire 3 days I've got off. I'm going to get this fucking review done. Alright, so this is the Limbo of the Lost review. Take God knows how many. This has been a really weird uphill struggle for me. I keep having a really hard time just separating my feelings about the game's development and all the really dark shit that happened there, and keeping that separate from the actual content of the game. Because after I'd finished and the previous session, you can kind of see I was in a bit of a manic state at that point. I kind of said I enjoyed it in a kind of sadistically, masochistically kind of shit way. And then after that point, obviously when I'd sobered up a little bit, I started to kind of think more about all the lies that have been spun out, all the assets that have been ripped, the lack of care and polish that have been put into the latter end of the game, and I just got soured horribly on the experience, and it made it incredibly difficult to impartially review the game, because I just fucking hated it, and I hated it on principle, not on content, and that's not a good way to do a review. So, I'm going to try very hard right now to try and do this pretty succinctly, and get it, obviously get the kind of under 3 minute review. This game, by itself, is not very good. It is, I will have to concede, in the category of so bad it's funny. Not so bad it's good. There is not a certain level of quality to be found in how bad it is, but it is so laughably, comedically, incompetently shit that you can laugh at, and I definitely have to give props to the guy who wrote the guide for this, which I will be doing a read-along for at some point, for at least turning even the guide into some level of obtuse bullshit just to accent that kind of experience. Really brought it to life, and for that I have massive respect, because Jesus Christ, turning that whole thing into a poorly rhyming limerick is oh, why? That's evil. But yes, it is something where you will not laugh at the jokes because they're funny. You will laugh at the jokes because you can't believe someone thought that would be funny. And I will go into that in further detail when we get into the slightly more spoilery side of things. You cannot buy this game, really. You can buy it off of people who've already bought it, but there's no commercial way of supporting developers, and you shouldn't support the developers. They're fucking hacks. But aside from that, if you do want to try a bad game, this might be worth giving a go. It's somewhat unstable on Windows 10, but I managed to get it working basically through brute force. Effectively, if you just keep cracking away at one particular section, eventually it just loads, so no idea what was going on there. But yeah, if you're a connoisseur of shit games, give this a try. If not, avoid, Jesus Christ, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. And I got that in under 3 minutes as well. Go me. Anyway, now over to the slightly more spoilery part of the review. I suppose we should start with the horribly textured, stolen from another zoo elephant in the room, which is the graphics, which is where the lion's share of this content has been stolen from. Basically, Majestic Studios kind of lifted huge amounts of stuff wholesale from assortment of movies and games and Lord of the Rings figurines, apparently. And it's very hard to kind of judge it on that, because all of that hard work and development from the guys who made Painkiller, from the guys who made Spawn, from the guys who made fucking Thief, it's you can't really criticise that, because these are very poorly edited screen grabs. But even if you are going to use screen grabs, the lack of skill they demonstrated in actually editing them for Briggs to maneuver around them showed a complete lack of finesse. I mean, he's clipping through pillars, there's no sense of perspective. On one particular screen I remember seeing that what was it? In a Painkiller level, you could see one of the pickups in the corner of the screen, where clearly that guy had just not realised, I should probably tidy this up before I go and fucking take a screenshot of this so I can then steal it and put it in this other fucking game. It lacked even the most basic levels of polish, to the point where you could quickly see that someone had basically just cut vertical vertices for Briggs to slip behind, and that was really it. There was really no other kind of work put in there. Outside of that, in terms of the stuff that they actually did create, oh my god, okay. So the modelling is bad. Earlier on in the game, it's not quite terrible. I mean, Briggs is, naturally, he's the guy we're looking at for the most part, and yes, some of his shit clips through his body on a constant basis, and yes, his beard looks like he's just had a dirty fucking Sanchez, and it's all disgusting, and it's all horribly implemented. but at the very least, it's like low quality but functional. When we start getting into the actual residents of Limbo itself, and especially when we get to Darkmere, just all sense of design and theme just tends to fly out the fucking window. There are some characters in there that look fairly normal. The scantily clad witch, the pie maker, and all that sort of thing. So that's okay. But occasionally you have got real fucking weirdos like, well, I'll get over to what my feelings are on Granny Faggot at some point, but oh my god. Like the Worrymeister and the Mayor and all these other characters who just look astonishingly bad. Like, worse than a Unity ripped, like, worse than worse than poor quality Unity assets, like genuinely really ugly, horrible low res texturing. And the animation is fucking appalling. It's all just vomit for the eyes. Not your eyes vomiting, no, vomit that you rub into the eyes. That's the kind of level of quality we're running at here. It's just bad. So fucking bad. And yeah, I mean, everything else pretty much. It's one of those two. It's one of those two ballparks. It's either good assets, well-made assets, being used badly, or it's fucking horrible assets, also being used really badly. So visually, it's a horrible experience. It's absolutely terrible. Moving on from there to the gameplay, so I'm pretty much of the opinion that I think there was a demo of this game, some kind of early release or something like that for playtesters or reviewers, and it has a lot more polish than the rest of the game. It's very noticeable that it's got a lot more polish than the rest of the game. Briggs has got the ability to use and take and sense and look at things, and in the beginning of the game, when you're working your way through like the very first prison section, you get descriptions of things you're looking at, and Briggs is kind of adding more stuff to the tone of the scene. The minute you leave that chapter, all of that's gone. All of it's gone. It has all been replaced by either, interesting, or no sense, no feeling. And I just don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Like, it's an adventure point and click game. You need to be able to interact with your environment. You need to be able to talk to NPCs. If you can't do that, you're basically wandering around trying to remember what you were just told because you can't even get them to repeat that to you. It is just fucking design 101. It's shockingly bad. It is shockingly badly done. I have absolutely no idea what they were thinking, and as the game goes on and you go into further and further chapters, it just gets progressively worse. The puzzles get more obtuse, the dialogue gets just less and less helpful. When you get to the machine, which I think is Act 5, the engineer there just tells you to fix the tracks, gives you no indication of where to go. It's almost as if the script was written entirely separately from the development of the game, and by the time they were developing, they realised, oh shit, we never specified where those things needed to go. Fuck it, let's just chuck them anywhere. It's that level of just uncoordinated, badly implemented, and frustratingly obtuse puzzle construction, which just blows my mind as to how people thought that was a good idea. I mean, at the end of the day, there are probably games out there with even worse puzzles than this, but fucking hell, you never feel so abandoned, so utterly alone as when you're trying to solve a puzzle in Limbo of the Lost. Again, that's one of the reasons why the guide was such an absolute lifesaver, otherwise I would have lost my marbles quite a while back. Apart from that, I mean, the time section right at the end of the game comes out of absolutely nowhere. It has no real meaning to anything. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot the fact that Briggs is consistently talking back to you because you are actually a person in this adventure. You are the spirit guide, or whatever kind of bullshit they're trying to pull with there. Just an excuse for Briggs to snark at the player. I mean, you don't have to do that for Briggs to be snarky. Like most other classic point-and-click adventure games have the protagonist be deadpan or snarky. You don't have to have him actually turn around, look at the camera, and talk to the player directly. That's just fucking annoying. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a point-and-click adventure game. The puzzles are incredibly basic. It's normally grab an item, walk over to something, and rub it against something else until it works. Sometimes the thing you got to do has absolutely zero prompts. Those seals for the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, at the end, there was absolutely no reason to make wax seals of them. Absolutely none. All I can think is you were supposed to put those seals back on the pillars, and then take the wax seals and put them in there, because that way you can, like, activate the mechanism. But they just didn't do that. You can quite I mean, if someone had the time and the patience to do this, they could probably chart a graph of how much effort was put into the production of this game, and it would be a fucking ski slope from top to bottom. As you get further and further to the end, they are literally just dropping assets everywhere, trying to get everything in place so the player can just walk into a room, pick up the one item they need to get, walk back out, and fucking do the thing and end the fucking game. I'm really trying not to get angry about this game, but man, it is fucking difficult. So, yes, gameplay, fucking just boilerplate, but shoddily made boilerplate. Really fucking bad. And finally, the story. Yay! This game has no story. Or it kind of did, I don't know. It feels like when you get to Darkmere especially, there was definitely an idea here. If anything, it feels like this was the original idea the game developers had, and then it just sort of bloated as they tried to make more content for it, and none of it tethered into the original premise. You go to Darkmere, you're trying to solve these murders, you've got a journal, you've got an index of locations, you've got a map, you've got all these things that make player progression through that sequence nice and easy to do and nice and balanced. It's very enjoyable. It was actually the one bit that genuinely picked up and made me enjoy the game, was like going, hey, the game's being competent. Oh my god, what is all of this? And then after that point, it all goes to shit again. Briggs is an incredibly unlikable character. He's a callous, sadistic bastard most of the time. He mutilates people on a fairly constant basis and shows absolutely no remorse for it. He's got no development whatsoever, and all the people around him are, at best, caricatures, and at worst, just straight up offensive. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that the guys who developed the game weren't aware of the term faggot, and it might have just been a funny spoonerism of Fanny Craddock, but it's 2007, the average audience for your games are not going to be aware of who the fuck Fanny Craddock is. In fact, I only know about Fanny Craddock because I watched a Bottom Live special where they made a vagina joke about Fanny Craddock's name. That's literally how I know, and I'm fucking 31. You might be able to understand that maybe this game is not pitched for the correct audience. But anyway, apart from that, I mean, it's just functional. That's, I think, what you can really say about the game is by the midpoint, especially once you get out of Darkmere, you realise that this invisible hand of the dev has just put its hand in the small of your back and is pushing you inexorably towards the exit and doesn't care what the fuck you go through. It's just getting you out the door. It's done what it wanted to do. It's wasted every kind of opportunity for making the game sound good whatsoever. It's just completely fallen apart, and it just goes, right, get through this bit, solve those puzzles, boom, done, fuck it, piss off. And then it has the balls to drop a sequel hook. This incoherent fucking mess of a game has the audacity to drop a sequel hook at the end of it. How? Why? I don't fucking know, but just, you've got to admire the just blind suicidal bravado required to do something that legendarily fucking idiotic, but, well, there you go. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I had to bring out about it. I've not bashed on too much about the whole plagiarism side of things, so I'm glad I've been able to avoid that. Otherwise, yeah, this is not really a very good game. It feels like there was a good idea there somewhere at some point, and then development or something got out of hand, because all of a sudden this very centralised idea just bloated and expanded, and all this extra filler content started showing up, and all of it was there like making a pearl in reverse, taking this one really nice thing and just covering it in layers and layers of shit, to the point where you're sitting there going, well, this one bit was kind of okay, and the rest of it was just fucking pointless. So yeah, overall, this is a game I would not really recommend to many people, unless I really dislike them, and even then I doubt they'd play it for as long as I did. The alcohol helped. The alcohol really shouldn't have been necessary to enjoy it, so I do kind of feel bad about that myself. But otherwise, yeah. There are other games out there that might be enjoyably shit. I don't know too much about them. I'm going to go on a quest to see if I can find them, and I really hope they'll be better and leave a better taste in my mouth than Limbo of the Lost. There we go, that wasn't so bad. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me ramble on for a good old 15 minutes, and yeah, catch you next time. Goodbye.